There are monsters that crawl out of forests, monsters that crawl out of lakes, and monsters that live inside old legends and warning signs. And then there's Bat Boy, a creature that crawled out of a place far more terrifying, the supermarket checkout line. Not aisle 9, not the freezer section, the thin strip of limbo where time stops, the lights buzz, and you accidentally learn what the tabloids think the world is. Tonight's case file isn't about a cryptid in the traditional sense. Not like Bigfoot or the Mothman. Not even like my cousin swears he saw something back behind the shed. This is something stranger. This is a creature built out of ink, attention, and human curiosity. A monster designed to be shared because whether you believed in Bat Boy or laughed at him, the end result was the same. You looked. Let's set the rules for the investigation. Bat Boy is a reoccurring tabloid character made famous by Weekly World News. It was a publication that lived on outrageous stories, aliens, monsters, conspiracies, celebrity nonsense, and headlines that feel like they were typed by a gremlin with access to a printer. So, no, this isn't a real animal case. But it belongs in the archive because Bat Boy is one of the clearest examples of how modern folklore gets manufactured. How a story became a mascot, how a mascot became a myth, and how a myth became strong enough to jump out of its cage and start haunting pop culture long after the original paper faded. We're not hunting a creature tonight, we're hunting a process. And the process is how belief is built. Bat Boy's birth hits like a flash bulb. A front page reveal a monster with a face that's instantly recognizable. And you've probably seen him. If you grew up anywhere near a grocery store, you've seen that face staring at you while you waited behind someone paying with a check like it's 1986. And that image is doing a lot of work. Bat Boy's design is simple, brutal, effective. Oversized eyes, wide mouth, too many teeth, human-ish posture, animal features that trigger the lizard brain, an expression that looks like it's mid-scream, mid-laugh, mid-bite. Bat Boy doesn't whisper, maybe. Bat Boy screams, look at me. And that's important because this isn't just storytelling, this is packaging. Even if you don't buy the paper, you're forced to read the headlines. And once you read the headlines, it's in your skull. You've already been affected with the idea. To understand Bat Boy, you have to understand the environment that created him. Tabloids weren't just magazines, they were public ritual. You didn't need to log in, you didn't need a fandom, you didn't need a streaming service. You just needed to walk past the rack. And tabloids understood something primal about people. We slow down for the weird. We stare at the impossible, and we read the sentence that begin with, scientists can't explain. It's not about truth. It's about permission. Tabloids gave people permission to engage with the bizarre without consequences. A safe carnival booth of reality distorted. You could laugh at it. You could half believe it. You could tell your friend about it like a campfire story. And next week, you'd hear another chapter. And that right there is the ingredient that turns one-off headlines into a legend. Serialization. A single hoax so disposable, so a reoccurring creature becomes a relationship. It becomes that guy again. It becomes, I wonder what Bat Boy is up to this week. Bat Boy stories often recycle the same structure, and it's not a flaw, it's a feature. It's the monster movie loop, if you would. Bat Boy resurfaces, authorities intervene. He's captured, studied, handled. He escapes or someone helps him. Chaos follows, and he vanishes again. And it does two things. First, it makes Bat Boy seem durable, like he can't be permanently solved. Second, it creates the illusion of a world that keeps moving even when you're not looking. It's how folklore behaves. I heard they caught it. No, it got away. They can't keep it contained. And the containment angle is the most modern version of a spell. In older stories, you had monks, curses, sacred texts. In newer stories, you have labs, agents, redactions, same structure, new costume. So, why did Bad Boy become the mascot? Like, why him? Here's the recipe. You recognize him instantly from very far away. The face is universal discomfort. Half boy, half bat, found in a cave. It's a full plot in one sentence. You can drop Bat Boy into any scenario and it still fits because the premise is already unhinged. Bat Boy wasn't just read, he was shown. You see this? Look at this. Bat Boy was a conversation grenade. And here's the part that people forget. Belief isn't required for haunting. Even if you don't believe, your brain still stores the image away. It moves into the attic with nightmares, childhood fears, and that one cursed VHS cover you wish you'd never seen. Bat Boy was basically a meme before meme was part of daily language. Think about it. A recurring image, a repeating character, remixable stories, instant recognition, shared for reaction. Tabloids were analog algorithms. They didn't need clicks, they needed glances. And Bat Boy's face was built for glances. It punishes you for looking away too quickly, which brings us to the next evaluation. Because if Bat Boy is an analog meme, then the internet was the perfect habitat for his descendants. So let's talk about what I call modern day Bat Boy energy. Before we talk about the internet, I want to zoom in on the habitat of Bat Boy. No, I'm not talking about the cave or the lab. I'm talking about the checkout lane because it's a horror setting that nobody talks about, but all of us know. If you think about it, the fluorescent lights that never blink, the quiet beep of scanners, the low static of overhead speakers, and that weird mix of silence and noise that makes your brain feel like it's buffering. And that's when you see it. A face that appears that doesn't belong in the normal world. It's the genius of tabloid monsters. They weren't hidden, they were placed in the most ordinary, public, everyday environments possible, which means the fear wasn't, I went looking for it. The fear was, I ran into it buying milk. And that's why those covers stick with us. You weren't prepared for it. You didn't consent to a cryptid. You just wanted snacks. And the checkout lane does something psychologically nasty. It makes us wait. You can't escape quickly. You can't unsee it. And you can't stop the image from soaking into your brain while the line inches forward like a slow crawl in a nightmare. Bat Boy wasn't just a creature. He was an ambush. And if you grew up seeing that cover, you didn't just remember the monster. You remember the feeling of being trapped next to it for the next 90 seconds. And that's how fake things become real in our memories. Bat Boy came out of the checkout lane, sure. But if you strip the paper away, what you're left with is a pattern. A pattern the internet didn't just inherit, it industrialized. Because the web is basically a haunted printing press that never sleeps. If Bat Boy were born today, he wouldn't be front page photo next to gum and celebrity gossip. He'd be a thumbnail. He'd be a Stitch TikTok, a found footage clip, a Discord thread, a post titled, "My dad worked night security at a lab and brought this home." And the comments would do what they always do: source, fake. Okay, but why does it look like that? I'm not sleeping tonight. The tabloid era had a formula: a shocking image, a simple premise, a hint of authority, either scientists, labs, or agents, a reoccurring saga that never fully ends. Now, look at the internet's favorite horror frameworks: creepypastas, short, shareable, designed to spread, not always to convince, but to infect. Containment fictions. This is the tabloid's government facility flavor turned into a whole cuisine. Files, redactions, clinical tones, protocols, consequences. It scratches the same itch that Bat Boy scratched. Not a monster in the woods, but a monster in the system, a creature with paperwork. And the genius of the official tone is that it tastes like truth at 2 a.m. when your brain is on battery saver. Bat Boy's natural habitat wasn't actually a cave. It was a familiar public space under buzzing lights, a place that became unsettling when it's too quiet. The filling in the bloodstream of modern horror. The internet took Checkout Lane Dread and stretched it over a whole genre. Liminal spaces, empty malls, endless hallways, office carpets, buzzing lights. A familiar setting with the safety turned off. Bat Boy came with a monster, yes, but he also came with a mood. And modern horror is mood first. Sometimes the place is a creature. Tabloids need distribution trucks. The internet needs a moment of your time. The algorithm doesn't care if it's true, it cares if it's sticky. And the Bat Boy rule still applies. Weird image, headlines that dare you to look, short story enough to retell, format official enough to pretend. Then it spreads. Not because people are gullible, because people are social. Sharing is how we say, "I saw something, come see it too." Every share adds energy, not proof, energy. A myth doesn't need to be real, it needs to be repeatable. The Bat Boy is a template, a monster blank. Drop him into different spheres and it still works. Government secrecy, science gone wrong, something ancient underground, a creature human enough to make it personal. Online, templates reproduce like spores. One image becomes 1,000 edits. One story becomes 100. My cousin saw it 2 posts. Someone makes a video. Someone debunks. Someone responds to the debunk. Now the creature is everywhere, even when it's nowhere. Bat Boy didn't need to survive as Bat Boy forever. He just needed to survive as an idea. Let me prove how this works by building a Bat Boy style viral monster in real time. Step 1, you need a face, not a detailed creature design. A face you can recognize in half a second, something your brain can store like a logo. Step 2, you need a single sentence premise, half blank, half specific. Found in a cave, escaped from a lab, spotted near a water tower. You want it to sound like a legit news report with one impossible ingredient. Step 3, you need authority figures. Not too much, just enough to imply a bigger system behind it. Officials refuse to comment, documents sealed, witnesses questioned. Step 4, you need a repeatable loop so that the story never ends. It returns, it's seen again, it's captured, it escapes, because the moment the story ends, it dies. Folklore survives by refusing closure. And step 5, give people a reason to share it. Not because it's true, because it's creepy. because it's funny, because it's shocking, because it makes them feel something. That's Batboy's secret. It's not evidence, he's a reaction. And the internet is a reaction engine. When I say Batboy might be the original meme, I don't mean the first funny picture. I mean, he's one of the clearest, earliest examples of an image engineered to spread through culture faster than the truth ever could. So, when people say Batboy was just a tabloid joke, I get it. But it's not the joke that matters, it's the blueprint. Because once a myth is strong enough, it doesn't stay trapped in its original medium. It finds a new cage to rattle. Which brings us to the moment Batboy did the unthinkable. He left the supermarket magazine rack and walked onto a stage. This is where Batboy stops being just a reoccurring tabloid monster and becomes something else. A character people reinterpret, a myth people remix with themes and meanings. Bad Boy the musical takes the tabloid monster and builds an actual narrative with identity, fear, comedy, and tragedy. It turns the checkout lane monster into a story with bones, not just teeth. And I love this because it proves something important. A creature doesn't need to be real to become culturally real, it just needs to be sticky. If the image grabs enough people long enough, the creature starts evolving on its own, like folklore does. So, what's the real monster in this file? It's not Batboy, it's the mechanism that made him. Batboy is a blueprint for how weird stories spread. A shocking image, a simple premise, repeat exposure, authority flavor, labs, corpse, cover ups, a public that shares it because it's fun, unsettling, or even both. We're not living in the tabloid era anymore. We're living in the era of infinite tabloids. Every feed is a checkout aisle, every scroll is a rack of headlines. Sometimes it's harmless nonsense. Sometimes it's modern myth. Sometimes it's misinformation wearing a monster mask. And the human brain, it does the same thing it did back then. It looks, it shares, it remembers. Bad Boy didn't just survive his era, he predicted ours. This is just a little archive note. If a story can get into your head without being true, what else can? It's the eerie lesson Bat Boy leaves behind. Not that monsters are real, but that the doorway is wide open. And we keep decorating it. So, in closing, Bat Boy isn't a cryptid of the woods. He's a cryptid of attention. A creature born in ink and kept alive by eyeballs. So tell me, did you ever see Bat Boy covered in the wild? Do you believe even for a second? Or did you just feel that little chill of why does this image exist? Drop your memories in the comments. And if you want another case like this, remember to like, subscribe, and join the archives because once you've seen it, it's already in the collection.